Craig Prince was a menace on the Rhode Islands between the years of 1987 and 1989. He murdered 4 people, a woman and her 2 daughters, and another woman 2 years earlier. He was aged between 13 and 15 years old. He is still in prison till now. Mary Bell was only aged 10 years old when she strangled and killed 2 young boys in Scotswood, Newcastle. She was convicted of manslaughter in 1968 December and was sentenced to be detained at Her Majesty's pleasure. Melinda Loveless, Lorraine Tackett, Tony Lawrence, and Hope Rippey were all involved in the murder of Shanna Shaw. She was 12 years old. The perpetrators were aged between 15 and 17 years. They abducted, tortured, stabbed, and burned Shaw to death. Loveless and Tackett were sentenced to 60 years in prison. Rippey was sentenced to 60 years, which was later reduced to 35 years. Lawrence was sentenced to a maximum of 20 years. Alyssa Bustamante was 15 years old when she murdered her 9-year-old neighbor Elizabeth Alton. She asked her sister to bring Alton to the woods to play. She then strangled young Alton, slit her throat, and stabbed her in the chest, then proceeded to bury Alton's body in a grave that she had dug 5 days before. She was sentenced to life imprisonment. In July 1999, 14-year-old Josh Phillips was convicted for murdering 8-year-old Maddie Clifton. He cited the reason for killing Clifton was to escape his father's wrath. He is currently serving a life sentence in prison. On 12th February 1993, Jon Venables and Robert Thompson abducted, tortured, and killed 2-year-old James Bulger. The reason for the killing is still unclear. Both Venables and Thompson were 10 years old. They were sentenced under Her Majesty's pleasure until 2001, when they were released on parole. On May 31, 2014, 12-year-olds Anissa Weier and Morgan Geezer lured their best friend Peyton Luther into the woods and stabbed her 19 times in an attempt to prove the fictional character Slenderman was real. Peyton managed to crawl to a road where she was found by a cyclist. Weier was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison, and Geezer was sentenced to 40 years under mental health facilities supervision. On August 2, 1993, 13-year-old Eric Smith murdered 4-year-old Derek Robbie. Smith strangled Robbie, dropped a large rock on his head, undressed the body, and sodomized him with a tree limb. Smith was sentenced to 9 years to life in prison. He cited the motive for killing was bullying. With the help of her 23-year-old boyfriend Jeremy Stink, 12-year-old Jasmine Richardson killed 3 members of her family since they did not approve of her relationship. After being arrested, Jeremy proposed to Jasmine, who accepted the proposal. Jasmine was sentenced to a 10-year prison sentence.